Good afternoon, Judge Moore.
Afternoon, Mr. Jordan. How are you today?
Doing all right. The
Excellent.
SAP reset date is November the 14th.
Thank you. I guess we'll get started when courtroom 2 comes online.
Do we need any breakout rooms or interpreters today?
I have no one. I don't believe Mike does. Don't think so.
Okay.
I
Can't
appreciate
be
your note.
dilly-dallying today. We got trick-or-treaters coming.
I know. I'm already dressed
I
up.
have
This is
lots
my
of costume
last.
makeup to do.
Yeah. Oh well. People say I don't need any, so I'm just gonna. I got your note on Miss Jackson. I've talked to the facility and to her husband, so
Okay.
hopefully that can work out smoothly.
Yeah, we'll address that when we get to her.
Ready to get going, courtroom 2?
Yes, we have Miss Gladden, Miss Kiera Gladden first.
Okay, tell me again.
Miss Kiera Gladden,
That's position number 5. Let me address everyone to start off with. Good afternoon. Ladies, I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. If you do not have a private attorney, we're providing you with the assistance of a public defender today if you choose to utilize their services. Good afternoon, Ms. Gladden. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007418D with battery, disorderly conduct, and criminal trespass. Good afternoon, Mr. Howard. Is there a history?
Hey, 7, history out of North Carolina. 2020 probation, possession of a firearm. 2017 possession of a stolen firearm conviction. 2017 probation. 2011 assault on government employee conviction, and she has 2 holds.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Allen.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Thank you. This is an incident that occurred on the 12th of October at about 3:30 p.m. Police were called to the Villas de Mirasol apartments. That's at 700 Old Holcomb Bridge Road. There were multiple 911 calls made by the defendant and the victim. On scene, when police arrived, they discovered an investigation revealed that as the victim, Mrs. Yesenia Ortiz, was going through the entryway to the apartment complex, the defendant tailgated her and went in through the apartment complex directly behind her, was irritated. And when Mrs. Ortiz got through the gate, Mrs. Gladden drove around her aggressively and gave her the finger. Mrs. Ortiz responded in kind, at which point the defendant in front of you stopped her vehicle, got out, and came at the victim, yelling at her to get out of her car and yelling obscenities. The victim then started recording on her cell phone. As this continued, the defendant is seen on cell phone video reaching into the car and smacking the victim in her face, and then repeatedly striking at her until she grabbed the cell phone the victim was holding. The victim asks for her cell phone back, and the defendant then throws it at her into the car and into the dash of the vehicle. So the defendant calls the police and says, "Somebody's following me." And the victim calls the police and reports that she's just been assaulted. And then the defendant calls police and says, "Never mind, I need to cancel this call." She left. So on scene, police see that the victim, Mrs. Ortiz, has visible bruising or swelling, and redness on her face. They observe the video. They then identify the defendant through information about her vehicle. The women live in the same apartment complex, Your Honor. So a warrant was obtained on October the 25th, 2024. You did just hear the defendant has history out of North Carolina. She is a convicted felon, and I believe she's got a hold for a failure to appear. We tried to get in touch with the victim today. She's Spanish speaking, so we haven't been successful yet, but the state's asking for a $2,000 surety. Absolutely no contact with Mrs. Ortiz, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond, and we would request some anger management, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Ortiz is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity. Mr. Jordan, and I want to address, I'm happy to have everyone in this court today. If you're here by Zoom, Ms. Zanib M., I'm going to place you in the waiting room. That photograph that you have there is inappropriate for court. It's certainly inappropriate for a jail court. So I'm going to have you placed into back into the waiting room until you can put another photograph that's more appropriate on the screen, or no photograph at all with just your name. Can we get that accomplished? Can you get that accomplished for me, Mr. Jordan? Thank you. I appreciate it. Yes, Mr. McLean.
Your Honor, my client is both a student and works. She is 35 years old. She grew up in New York State, Rochester. She's been in Georgia about a year or so, roughly. Before that, she was in North Carolina for 16 years. She's rebuilding her life here after a bad relationship there, I think it was, or something like that, with her significant other. That's a guess, really. Your Honor, her education, the reason I say she's both a student and working is that she's a graduate of high school, and she's doing post-high school work in Aviation Institute of Duluth, taking night classes to become an aviation maintenance person. She's also working at the original Chop Shop in Buckhead, where they make protein bowls and salads. They fix breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And she's been doing that since October of 2023, about a year and a half. I guess she's been in Georgia a couple of years. I understand what her record is. We'd ask the court to consider a signature bond under these circumstances. I see that, the address is stable. The phone numbers are there. There's no reason for her to miss court. Her address defines her apartment number. There's no unit number to be said.
If nothing further, for the battery, it's going to be a $500 good bond. For the disorderly, a $250 good bond. For the criminal trespass, a $250 good bond. Makes for a total of $1,000 good bond. No further contact with Miss Ortiz. Stay away from her apartment. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Miss Gladden.
Next, number 7, Ms. Hodges.
Good afternoon, Ms. Hodges. You've been charged in case 24CR007423G with willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer, distracted driving, and driving while your license was suspended or revoked. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
12. 2020 given false name conviction. 2019 expired driver's license conviction.
Yes, Ms. Allen.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred yesterday on the 30th at about 10:30 a.m. Officers observed the defendant driving a gray Nissan at the intersection of Heritage Drive. She was seen to be holding her cell phone in her hands, and a traffic stop was initiated. When asked for her driver's license, she said she didn't have it on her, and she gave her information to the police. The warrants note that her information she provided was a false name and date of birth, and that she wrote these things down. Unfortunately, the warrants did not include that false name or date of birth. She's charged with obstruction for lying about her identity to the police. When challenged, ultimately, because police went and looked the information up that she gave them and saw that that was associated with someone who clearly was not the defendant based on a picture. She admitted she'd provided false information. And when she was arrested, her driver's license was found on her person in her wallet. She was also found to be driving on a suspended license. The criminal history out of Hall County, Your Honor, includes a recent conviction for the exact same behavior: obstruction and false information to police officers and driving without a license. We'd ask for $1,000 surety based on that: no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and no driving without a license. Thank you.
Who faces this? Mr. McLean?
Yes, Your Honor. I believe my client is 53 years old. She has a stable address on Cleveland Highway at a particular number with the lot number. So it's her mail service should be very good. She tells me in Gainesville, Georgia. So she's not that far away. She's local to Georgia all her life. She works for a contractor that delivers the newspapers, the AJC. And so this is a logistical operation where they get the papers to the driveways and whatnot. Her education is out of Louisiana. Grew up in North Caddo, Louisiana. And I've got her husband's phone number. I've got her phone number. She seems to have factors of stability there. And I do understand that she has several arrests from her past. We would ask the court to consider, under these circumstances, a signature bond. But if not, then the $1,000 surety bond would be workable.
And Your Honor, the real concern for the state here is the driving. Her driver's history has many citations, including more than 10 failure to appear. She's got at least 6 speeding convictions, and that's the issue. That's why she's got, I believe, a warrant out of Gainesville now, and it's also related to the last case and this case, the behavior. So that's our concern.
Thank you. Given that the obstruction is bail restricted, it's going to be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. The distracted driving, a $500 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Suspended license, $500 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Makes for a total of a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No driving without a valid license, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Ms. Hodges, I'm giving you the opportunity to get out, but if you are caught driving without a valid license, this bond will be revoked and you'll be back where you are. Okay, good luck to you, ma'am.
Number 9, Jackson.
Good afternoon, Ms. Jackson. You've been charged in case 24CR007408D with battery, family violence, and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. It's my understanding that this is Ms. Jackson's first arrest.
Yes, Your Honor, that's our understanding as well. This incident took place yesterday at 330 Spring Lake Terrace. Officers responded to a domestic dispute. The victim in this case is the defendant's husband. His name is Michael Jackson. He advised the defendant slapped him multiple times on his arms and stomach. The officer observed an outline of a hand with raised red lines on the victim. The officers tried to speak with the defendant. She refused and also told them she was not going to cooperate. The officers then attempted to arrest her, and she resisted multiple times. It took multiple officers to get her handcuffed, and when she was handcuffed, she made her body go limp in an attempt to try to get the officers to carry her full weight. We have been in touch with Mr. Jackson today. He states they're married and they live together at the incident location and have 2 children together. He confirmed the events in the warrant. He states that this is how the defendant acts when she drinks, and she has a pretty serious drinking problem. She was intoxicated at the time of this incident. She had just gotten out of treatment for alcohol a week ago. She has nowhere else to go, but at this point, he does not trust her to stay sober. And he says that if she's not going to be sober, then he does not want contact with her and would like for her to stay away. In speaking with Mr. Jackson, it's my understanding that he has coordinated another treatment program that is willing to take her, and we'll let the defense tell you about that. But we would request a signature bond through pretrial, a stay away, no contact, an alcohol and drug evaluation and treatment, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol. And we're also asking for alcohol screening. And Your Honor, if the defendant is agreeable to going to the treatment center, then we would be okay with a signature bond released to the treatment center with the conditions of no further violent contact and an alcohol and drug evaluation and treatment. And just, I believe the treatment center may be on the line if we can just inquire about the screening requirements.
Okay, first, if Mr. Michael Jackson is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. All right.
I'm good. They said everything. Hopefully she can go to treatment.
All right, thank you for being here, Mr. Jackson. Before I go to the, if the treatment center is on and wishes to address the court, I'll allow that. But Mr. Cook, would you like to address the court first?
Yes, and Your Honor, when I interviewed my client, I had not did not have the information on the treatment center. I have talked to them, so I have not run this by the my client. So this will be the first she's hearing about it. She has been accepted to Mount Sinai Wellness Center in Dahlonega, Georgia. I've heard of them before. I think I've had clients, in fact, I know I have, for a 30-day residential program. It's my understanding that Mr. Jackson has agreed to take care of any of the expenses related to that. So that would be an option if the defendant is agreeable to, and I talked to Gabriella Collins there. They will coordinate a pickup at the jail. She's going to get a bond today within a few minutes. How quickly she's processed out, we don't know, and I'll try to stay in touch with them as far as that option goes. However, as I said, this is the first my client has heard of it, so she would have to be agreeable to that. There is a simple battery, family violence, first arrest. Technically, I guess you could get an SOB through pretrial. However, there is the obstruction, which I know is also a restricted charge. So that's where we stand now. If she's agreeable to that.
Okay, so courtroom 2, if you'll unmute for me. Ms. Jackson, if I release you through pretrial with a signature bond, are you agreeable to going to the Mount Sinai Treatment Center program, the 30-day inpatient residential program?
No, sir.
Okay, so I guess you've got your answer, Mr. Cook.
Okay.
And then, Your Honor, we would just request no contact and stay away.
Okay. For the battery, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. For the willful obstruction, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, makes for a total of a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. And ADET, drug and alcohol random screening, 2 AA meetings per week. No further contact with Michael Jackson. Stay away from the Spring Lake Terrace address. She can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings. Third-party transfer of any minor children. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. If I find out, Ms. Jackson, that you have been using drugs or alcohol while on this bond, the bond will be revoked and you will be right back where you are. Good luck to you, Ms. Jackson. You also, Mr. Jackson. Thank you for being here this afternoon.
Number 11.
Judge Moore.
Yes, good afternoon. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007419B with criminal trespass and damage to property, family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Neely.
Yes.
6 Got an open case out of Henry County, trespass. 2023 probation, 2023 simple assault dismissed, 2022 simple battery arrest.
Ms. Allen,
Thank you, Your Honor. This incident is from October the 9th. At about 3 p.m., police were called to 3964 Fennel Circle Southwest. There they met with the victim. His name is Quantavious Thomas. He and the defendant, Mrs. Neely, share a child. He reported that during an exchange of the child that they share at his residence, the defendant became angry when they argued, left the location. Their child was in the vehicle there with her, and then returned. She parked her vehicle behind his and then threw a brick through the back windshield of his car, shattering the window. Police observed the broken window and the brick inside. They also reviewed the APD database and saw that there'd been numerous reports where both individuals had been arrested in the past. The defendant has 3 cases that came through in 2023. It looks like she was given the opportunity to do diversion. I'm unsure if diversion has been completed on all 3 of them, but here we are again. We were unable to get in touch with the victim today, Your Honor, Mr. Thomas. We'd be asking for a $2,000 surety, no contact, stay away from his address, which is the 3964 Fennel Circle Southwest Drive, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Thank you.
if Mr. Quantavious Thomas is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor, it's my client's position that Mr. Thomas is the problem and that he slapped her, beat her. She left the location. He has no legal right for custody or visitation of any kind. There's been no legitimation. And this may have started with an argument over a child seat. Having said that, she wants no further contact and has no problem with the stay away. That may be the best situation for all. And then he can work out, if he wishes, any details regarding child visitation. We would be therefore asking for a signature bond through pretrial services, Your Honor.
Does she have a reason to go back to the Fennel Circle address to collect any belongings?
She doesn't live there. I know of no reason, so.
Okay. As such, it'll be a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2, 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with Mr. Thomas, stay away from the Fennel Circle address, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck, Ms. Neely.
Position number 19, Wilder.
Good afternoon, Ms. Wilder. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007411F with 3 counts of battery family violence. No, 3 counts of battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Third arrest, 2022 suspended license, 2017 disorderly conduct no law, and she's wanted out of Lake City. That's in Clayton County. if I'm
What's
not
the
mistaken.
recommendation from pretrial?
It's up to you. I didn't put one on there. I
Okay.
don't even think I saw it.
Yes, Ms. Allen.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident from November of 2022. It was reported at about 11 p.m. Police responded to 505 Fulton Street, where they spoke to the victim. She is a relative, I believe a niece of Ebony Wilder, who's in front of you, Janisha Wilder. She was seen to have visible injuries. Specifically, she had teeth marks from being bitten on both of her hands, scratches on her neck, and a busted lip, as well as a knot on her forehead. She reported that she was living with her aunt, and that had just been recently They had an argument and she decided it was time for her to leave, but her belongings were still at her aunt's house, and her aunt was refusing to let her come and get those belongings. Eventually, her aunt agreed to come to 505 Fulton Street, where the victim was now living, and bring her items. The victim had other people go outside and meet her aunt. She was worried about violence. The victim remained inside. She was laying down. She reported that her aunt then came into the room she was laying in, demanded her cell phone, and then began striking her repeatedly, pinching her, punching her, biting her, and scratching her. Family members came in, intervened, and pulled the defendant off of Miss Janisha Wilder. She was 17 at the time, Your Honor. The defendant then took a hammer and tried to hit her with it, and family again had to intervene. Police arrived. Obviously, the defendant had fled. They observed all the visible injuries on this young woman. An investigator was actually assigned. A warrant was obtained in January of 2023, although Mrs. Wilder hasn't been picked up until now. We did speak to Janisha. She's here on the Zoom. I did let you know, she was 17 years old at the time of this incident. They no longer live together. She confirmed what happened, and she's currently living with other family, but she would absolutely request no contact, and she'd ask for a stay away for her current address because she's not at 505 Fulton anymore. She's at 4590 Ferncrest. That's one word, and that's Ferncrest Place in Douglasville, Georgia. We'd ask for some anger management, Your Honor, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, as well as the no contact. Looks like she's got a warrant out of Clayton County. I believe that's related to driving, and she's got a prior case for disorderly conduct. I believe that was a NOLO. So if you're not inclined to do a surety bond, Your Honor, we'd ask for some supervision through pretrial and, again, anger management. If you would sound for Mrs. Wilder, thank you.
Ms. Janisha Wilder, I see you here on the line. If you would like to address the court, you certainly don't have to, but if you would like to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. If you would like to, I'll need for you to unmute yourself, activate your camera, and I'll have to swear you in. Yes, okay, you have to unmute yourself for me, Ms. Wilder. Okay, while she figures out how to unmute herself, Mr. McLean.
I'll unmute myself. Your Honor, my client, Ms. Wilder, is 28 years old. She's a full-time student, a part-time worker. Her full-time student study is Aveda Arts and Sciences and Cosmetology. She will be a licensed cosmetology when she graduates in 2 months. She also works 20 hours a week at Amazon. She, of course, is a Georgia resident all her life, is local, stable address, phone numbers, easy to contact. And we'd ask the court under these circumstances with the charges, even as they are, we would still ask the court to consider a signature bond, Your Honor. She'll show up to court. Oh, she has 2 minor children that are 8 and 4, and also she has custody, whether it's formal or informal, of a relative's kids that are 17, 12, and 9. So practically speaking, she's struggling to increase her income so that she can take care of all these 5 kids. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Janisha Wilder, have you been able to unmute yourself for me if you'd like to speak to the court? Doesn't appear so. It's going to be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial on each charge. Makes for a total of a $6,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. 1 day anger awareness. No further contact with Ms. Janisha Wilder. Stay away from the Ferncrest Place address. no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Wilder.
Next is number 21, Ms. Williams.
Good afternoon, Ms. Williams. You've been charged in case 24CR007417B with theft by taking. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
16. No, I'm sorry. 2016 DUI conviction, 2013 possession of a firearm by felon, convicted felon conviction, 2013 operating, escorting business without a license conviction. This was out of state, of course.
Okay. Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. The defendant has history out of South Carolina, Virginia, and Georgia. The most recent being that DUI in 2016. This is an incident from the 21st of October at about 7 a.m. At the racetrack at 7845 Sonoya Road. The victim in this case, his name is Eric Herrera. He speaks Spanish. He was at the racetrack after purchasing food, specifically, I believe, a sandwich and a drink. He'd gone through the checkout and then walked over to the lottery machine where he was purchasing lottery tickets. The defendant, who was an employee of that racetrack, came over to him and snatched his items that he'd just paid for away from him, made some statement about how she was tired of people from Brooks Landscaping coming and stealing from the location. And she took his items and went behind the cashier's desk and refused to allow him to talk to her and motioned for him to leave. So he left the location and went and made a police report. Investigation revealed surveillance that captured what the victim reported had just occurred. The victim reported that he felt discriminated against. The racetrack business also provided documentation of the purchase that had literally happened less than a minute before he was confronted by this young woman who claimed that he had just stolen items that were in a bag. We have not had a chance to get in touch with Mr. Herrera today, but we'll continue to do so. Let's see. We're asking for $1,000 surety, Your Honor. Absolutely no contact with Mr. Herrera, first name Eric. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
Claim.
Your Honor, despite the 2016 DUI, we would ask the court to consider a signature bond. She is a high school graduate from Clarkston, Georgia, been in Georgia and Atlanta area all her life. She's worked for 5 years as the general manager at the racetrack. Before that, she worked at the Circle K as an employee. She's got some medical assistant experience as well. Her Riverdale address appears to be normal. I Googled it and just, made sure that when I get a chance, I don't always have time, but it's a real address and the phone numbers, I can't see anything wrong with them. She'll show up to court. We'd ask the court to consider a signature bond.
It'll be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with Eric Herrera, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Williams.
I would like to ask about Miss Nikki Beemore. She's not on the calendar. Is there any particular reason why?
She actually has multiple prior shoplifting convictions, and this is going to be transferred as a felony. But if you'd like to address bond, we could do that. She'll be on felony first appearance tomorrow.
Thank
Judge,
you.
what was that bond again?
Ms. Williams,
Yes.
$3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1-day anger awareness.
ACDC, okay, go ahead.
All right. Good afternoon, Francois. How are you today?
Good afternoon, Judge Moore. I'm good. I hope you are as well. This is going to be position number 1, Ms. Bradley, and that's for Ms. McLeod.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is a dual case with position number 2.
Position, which one, Ms. Desiano? I'm sorry.
Position 10.
And thank you. Let's see. Good afternoon, Ms. Bradley. You've been charged in Good afternoon, ma'am. You've been charged in case 24 CR 0074168 with battery, family violence, and criminal trespass and damage to property. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
He's on probation, ag assault, cruelty to children, given false name, 19 SC 165970. 2021 probation. She had a cruelty in the first that was dismissed from 2021. 2018 disorderly conduct conviction. 2016 pointing pistol at another conviction. 2013 ag assault conviction. You want number 10's history?
That's
I don't know. if
Dardo
he's in the court-
Mathis, I think. I have the Dardo Mathis, and it is a conflict. So if you want to hear them together.
Well, I don't know if are there any men in courtroom 2 right now?
Oh, it's women in there? Okay. I will
Oh.
wait then. We'll wait.
What was
Okay.
the name?
Yeah. I'd rather him be in front of us before we
Sure, I understand.
go. Okay. Yes, Ms. Tessiano.
Your Honor, this incident took place on the 29th at 1622 Mary George Avenue. Upon arrival, the officers made contact with both defendants. Mr. Mathis our understanding, is Miss Bradley's stepfather. Mr. Mathis advised that Miss Bradley was in a dispute with his girlfriend. Miss Bradley and the girlfriend were arguing. Sometime during that dispute, Miss Bradley began destroying property inside the house. Mr. Bradley says that he tried to restrain Miss Bradley from destroying property and she struck him. The officer observed a cut on his lip. Miss Bradley has a conflicting account of what happened. She said that they were arguing with the girlfriend. She dropped a glass of water and it broke. She states Mr. Mathis then got upset and told her to clean it up. She told him she would clean it up in a minute after she did something else. Mr. Mathis said, no, clean it up now. And when she refused, she claims he struck her in the head. Miss Bradley was seen to have a knot on her forehead. The officer went inside the location and did observe damage that was allegedly caused by Miss Bradley. There was the broken glass that she claims to have dropped, and the flat screen TV on the wall was damaged as well. Both parties were arrested due to both having injuries and having conflicting stories. The girlfriend was not interviewed. We're not sure if she was on the phone or the warrants don't indicate that there was a third person there, although they do describe a dispute with a third person, verbal. According to Mr. Mathis, Miss Bradley has been living at the location for a couple of weeks with him. According to Miss Bradley, she says that she's lived at this location for approximately 6 months. As it relates to Miss Bradley, Your Honor, the state's requesting a $3,000 surety, $2,500 on the battery, $500 on the criminal damage. We'll defer to the court as far as contact is concerned. However, if either defendant wishes to have no contact, then we would request that Miss Bradley be required to leave the residence, as it appears from our reading of the warrant that this is Mr. Mathis's residence and she's been staying there for a short period of time, a couple of weeks or a couple of months. No weapons, drugs, or alcohol, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I can say, I mean, I know my client's not there, but I can state, and after interviewing him, he wants no further contact.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. McLeod.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My client wants no further contact as well, and she tells me that she has somewhere else that she can go to live. My client tells me that her stepfather was definitely the primary aggressor, that he attacked her, Your Honor. She tells me that, he got upset because she was arguing with his girlfriend, but she denies his version of the facts. I don't believe my client has any open cases to my knowledge, Your Honor. So I would ask the court to consider giving her a signature bond through pretrial at whatever level the court deems appropriate. She tells me that she's self-employed, but at this time, I believe she tells me that her husband is not in the country. So she may not have anyone to post bond for her. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. And it's my understanding, Ms. McLeod, that she's on probation for aggravated assault, cruelty to children, and giving false information to law enforcement. She's still on probation, is that correct?
Well, she denies it, Your Honor, so I don't know.
Your Honor, I will check.
Yeah, I'll look again. That's what they have on the bond assessment.
Okay, well, that'll make a
Now I know
decision.
her sentence for that. Well, Your Honor, she was sentenced this year. I'm sorry, she was sentenced in 2019 for that, the aggravated assault case. Let me
You
see if
got
I can-
17 years? That's what I got. Hold on.
Let me see. Here we go.
Bradley.
There's a lot of probation violations in this. Let's see. It's been revoked, I believe, twice. And Rachel, do you see the disposition? I'm seeing the transcript. I can pull it up
Hold
through the
on.
transcript. But
It's
hold on.
starting to spin. Let's see. Fulton County internet is trash.
Watch it, you're on record.
I'm sure they know.
Yeah, they did.
Let's see.
They did.
Okay. 20 served 3, reduced to time served for, let's see, count 1, served 20, served 3 years, reduced to time served upon entry of detention center program or behavioral health care court. And the rest of her sentence was 12 months.
All right, thank you, Mr. Esiano.
Hold on, Judge. Hold on.
Okay,
Normally the disposition's filed and you can look it up easily.
Yeah. Hold on. Cause they got 17 on here for a reason, so I'm trying to figure out where they got it from.
Let's see. Yeah, so as of 2022, October 24th, 2022, there was an order that was entered saying she completed accountability court, and because of that, her case was now being transferred to the Department of Community Supervision for further supervision.
So that means she's on probation.
Yeah. And regardless, Your
All right,
Honor, she has a violent history anyway. She has several priors besides that aggravated assault. So we would ask for a surety bond.
okay, there's nothing further. For the battery, it'll be a $750 good bond. For the criminal trespass, a $250 good bond. Makes for a total of $1,000 good bond. No further contact with Mr. Mathis. Stay away from the Mary George Avenue address. She can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that she might have there. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck, Ms. Bradley.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Number 17, Thompson.
And Your Honor, I just found the disposition. Pritchell's correct. 17 years probation. I don't know
Thank
why I
you.
couldn't see that before.
Good afternoon, Ms. Thompson. You have been charged in case 24CR007402J with battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Second, open case out of Douglas County, sale of marijuana from last year. That's it.
Ms. Allen?
Your Honor, this is an incident from the 29th of October. The location is 888 Dale Drive Southeast. The facts are basically that this young woman and her boyfriend live at the location with another couple. The two women, Mrs. Thompson in front of you and the victim, Jasmine Zainab, who was on our Zoom earlier, were engaged in an argument. It was a couple's fight, not a double date, but a double fight. During this argument, the victim reported that this young woman approached aggressively and smacked her in the face. She hit her so hard that she had swelling and a laceration to the left side of her cheek, and that was seen by officers who responded. We have spoken to Jasmine Zainab. It's Zaenab. She reports that they're all roommates. This is the first time anything like this has happened, but she would like no contact. So we're requesting a $1,000 surety, Your Honor, based on that open case, no contact with the victim, Jasmine Zainab, and to stay away from that location. She'll need one-time police escort to get her belongings. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Thank you.
If Ms. Zainab has joined us back on the Zoom, now is your opportunity to address the court if you choose to.
I'm sorry, Judge, this is Katrina. I'm filling in right quick for Michael. Is that person was in the waiting room? Did you say her name was Zabib? Zabib?
Yes, I see her back here.
Yeah, I just put her back in. I just put her back in.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Zainab, if you would like to address the court on regarding Ms. Thompson, now is your opportunity to do so. I'll need for you to activate your camera for me.
Yes, give me 1 second. Okay, you see me?
Yes, ma'am. Can you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court, ma'am?
Okay, so my belief is that this person should be ordered to stay away for everyone's safety in the house. I'm deeply concerned about her possibly being back in the house because she has been terrorizing other roommates since she moved in. One roommate has said that she snoops in his room when he isn't home. Another roommate was harassed and ostracized for his racial identity. A third roommate has stated that this person has purposely locked him out of the house and called him out of his names on several occasions in passing. And after many subtle bullying tactics, she finally took the opportunity to get physically violent with me during a moment where I was simply defending my personal space. Because her attack was unprovoked, I don't trust that she won't retaliate against me, or any of the other housemates. And I believe that her presence in the house makes an unsafe environment for everybody.
Okay. Thank you for being here this afternoon, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. McClain?
Your Honor, my client, Ms. Thompson, has for the last 4 years had a business that is involved with elements and jewelry that are holistic and healing things, and that is a business which sells those to the public for the healing and the holistic medicine type thing. Before that, she worked for a year at the Plasma Center, and she has done volunteer work as recently as going to North Carolina to help people with the flood damage. She's a graduate with a master's degree in business from American, I believe it's American, I wrote down AIC, I think that's American Intercontinental. I may have the A wrong, but she also has her previous bachelor's degree in business from a university in Huntsville, Alabama. We would ask the court to consider a signature bond under these circumstances with these charges.
Okay, it'll be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2, 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with Ms. Jasmine Zainab. Stay away from the Dale Drive location. She can go back to that location on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you both.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge.
Welcome.
Number 10, Mathis.
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Mathis. You have been charged in case 24CR007415Y with battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
16. Last arrest was in July. Drug trafficking. Possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Theft by receiving. That's 24 PI 004730. That's all.
Ms. Desiano?
And Judge, this is the other defendant in that dual arrest. For the defendant's benefit, I can go through the facts again if the court elects.
I remember, Mr. Cook, would you like me to go with Ms. Desiano?
Well, no, this is Kira Bradley, the cross defendant there. If so, no, I don't need it, Your Honor.
Okay, so what's the recommendation, Ms. Desiano?
The recommendation, Your Honor, is a $2,500 surety bond, no contact, and no weapons, drugs, or alcohol.
Mr. Cook?
Yes, he's fine with no contact and a stay away. They live apart. I don't know when I picked up on the recitation from pretrial on his the end of his record.
Oh, and that's a pretrial bond too. So
I'm
And
sorry.
Mr. Cook, we weren't asking for a stay away because it was my understanding that was his
Oh,
residence.
I'm sorry.
That you wanted okay.
Yeah, no further contact. Thank you. Yeah. Sure. You know, we would be at, my client is 49 years old. He works in private traffic control for companies that pave streets and have construction projects on roadways. We would be asking for the low. If a signature bond is out of the question, we would be asking for the lowest possible signature bond. And again, I think everybody's agreed they just need to have no further contact, and there's no need for it. Nothing further.
It'll be a $2,000 good bond, no further contact with Ms. Bradley, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Mathis.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position number 18. I'm sorry, Judge, that's a $2,000 surety?
Yes.
Go. Maureen.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ulmer. You have been charged in case 24CR007403F with criminal trespass. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
37. Open case, entering auto, possession of tools, trespass, 21 SC 178108. Unlawful removing, destroying electronic monitoring, 23 CP 219270. DeKalb County got an open criminal attempt to commit a felony and burglary. I got 2 FTAs from this year, 2 from last year, 1 from 2022, 1 from 21, 2021 shoplifting conviction, and 1 out of Clayton County.
Thank you, Ms. Allen.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is a criminal trespass case from yesterday, the 30th, at about 12 a.m. Victim Anthony Sanders, who rents a business space at 1170 West Marietta Street, reported that he'd recently left the location, but while driving past, he noticed the lights were on and he decided to go check. When he entered the location, the gentleman in front of you, Mr. Ulmer, was sitting inside the location and he was in possession of a screwdriver. The victim asked him to leave multiple times. The defendant refused, but eventually got up and walked past the victim. When the victim asked him how he got inside, he admitted that he'd broken in. The victim also reported that they were of the opinion that maybe the bottom lock in the back door was not sufficient. He also confirmed he did not know the defendant and had not given him permission to be there. After he was detained, the defendant asked officers if they would go inside and get his glasses because he'd left them in the location, and they did. He was arrested. He was seen to have that open warrant as well as open burglary case that he's on bond for out of DeKalb County, and the tampering with his ankle monitor. I believe it is in judicial hold here in Fulton County. We haven't been in touch successfully with the victim yet today, but Your Honor, just based on the current open cases and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 failure to appears I see since 2018, we would ask for a $2,000 surety, stay away from the location, 1170 West Marietta Street, have no contact with Mr. Anthony Sanders, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Thank you.
Mr. Sanders is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity. Mr. McLean.
Your Honor, my client is 45 years old. He's a high school graduate. He's trying to help provide for and provide the main provision under strange circumstances economically for him personally of a 14-year-old and a 13-year-old. And also there's an 18-year-old in the house, but I pointed out to him that when I talk about minor children, that person is an adult, but that person's not out of the nest yet. So really he's trying to take care of 3 kids. He builds houses, remodels them mostly. I mean, I'll put it this way. He can build houses, but he remodels from basement to plumbing to roof. He can do it all, and he's been doing that for 23 years. He's a veteran for 3.5 years of active service back in the early 2000s. And his MOS, his duty at that time was supply and warehouse. So he's very employable, and he does his own remodeling work by word of mouth. And we would ask the court to consider a signature bond.
It'll be a $2,000 good bond. No further contact with Mr. Sanders. Stay away from the Marietta Street address. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck, Mr. Ulmer.
Number 16, Mr. Stone.
Good afternoon, Mr. Stone. You've been charged in case 24CR007412C with battery family violence and simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
10. Got an open ag assault, possession of a firearm during the commission. Ag battery. It's 24 PI 001425. Got open simple assault in state court, 23 CR 002124C. Open hindering person making emergency call out of the cab. 2023 battery DV, that was DWAP. 2019 simple battery obstruction, NOLO. 2019 battery in or on public transit vehicle station conviction. Yes.
Hey,
Yes,
Your
Ms.
Honor. Thank you. This is an incident from the 5th of October. The police were called to 1314 Donald Lee Holloway Parkway, number 2101. There they spoke to Mrs. Turner. She's the victim in this case. She reports that she shares a child with the defendant and that they argued there at the location. He picked her up after punching her in the face, threw her onto a countertop, held her down, restraining her arms, and then threw her to the ground. She was seen to have lacerations on her right hand, and she was complaining of neck and back pain. The 5-year-old they share, she reported was inside asleep and didn't know what was going on, although that's a little hard to believe it being 2 p.m., but maybe. There is history between these 2 individuals, Your Honor. You just heard a little bit about the criminal history. We did speak to the victim again. Her name is Alexandra Turner. She's joined us on the Zoom. She reports that she and the defendant are in a relationship and they live together and share a child. She confirmed the events in the warrant and said that nothing like this has ever happened before and that they've been living together since the 5th of October and that there's no violence since. She's not in fear and she wants contact. Just to make the recitation from pretrial clear, 2019 simple battery family violence case was a NOLO plea, and the victim in that case was the same young lady, Mrs. Alexandra Turner. In that case, she reported to MARTA police that she'd been assaulted by the defendant. The police there had actually separated the two while they argued at MARTA. She got on a train and then realized he'd gotten on the same train and was walking through the cars to her. When they arrived at the HE home station, he grabbed her from behind and struck her and then took her items and threw them over the balcony into the parking lot. And he was arrested. So that was a no-low plea. At the same time, he had a case for an assault on a bus or train driver, also involving him being present with his 3-month-old. He argued with the bus driver and assaulted the bus driver, and Mrs. Alexandra Turner had to come and pick up the 3-month-old when the gentleman in front of you was arrested. He has a current, there was a 2023 case as well with Miss Alexandra Turner, and that was dismissed on the morning of trial when she was not in court. We couldn't get her under subpoena. The open case you just heard about is a simple assault, and it's actually a hate crime. It is a recorded incident where this defendant is getting out of his vehicle and assaulting a gentleman and screaming homophobic slurs at him while Mrs. Alexandra Turner is sitting in the vehicle in the passenger seat. And that case is open in our office as well. So he's in violation of the bond on that case, which I'm sure requires him to have no further violations of the law. In addition, in February of 2024, he was arrested for an aggravated assault. He shot out of his vehicle at some people. And again, inside his vehicle during that shooting was his child that he has with Mrs. Alexandra Turner. So just based on the criminal history and the current open cases, there's a real concern, not just for the safety of the public, because people just driving a bus who tell this gentleman he doesn't have enough fare and he can't ride the bus for free get assaulted, and he's happy to shoot guns out of a window while he's driving a car with his child present. We'd be asking for a $3,000 surety, Your Honor. Absolutely no contact with the victim, Mrs. Turner, and the minor child that they share. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Thank you. And just be clear, based on the Ayala factors, he's on multiple bonds. He's in violation of a bond. He's got multiple convictions, including cases against the same victim. This is out of abundance of concern for her safety, the safety of her child, and the risk that this gentleman may reoffend. Thank you.
Ms. Turner, I see that you're on the line with us. If you would like to address the court, you certainly don't have to, but if you would like to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. And if you could unmute yourself, activate your camera, and I'll have to swear you in.
Hello,
Your...
I'm
yes,
actually driving. If you can give me a minute, can I pull over?
Yes, please.
I had to go pick up baby girl. Give me 2 seconds.
Your Honor, while she's doing that, I noticed he was on the second half of the calendar, but he was not in a group which was brought into the courtroom. Who represents him?
Ms. McLeod, is this your case?
Your Honor, I represent Mr. Stone in the other outstanding case that he has in Fulton County, and I was aware of that he had this outstanding warrant, and we spoke about it, and he decided, based on my advice, to turn himself in because this warrant was outstanding. I've also been able to speak with the victim. She called me. She was the one who first called me to tell me about this outstanding warrant, and she indicated that she wanted contact with my client, so she was very concerned because she actually wanted this warrant to go away. So I had the opportunity to speak with both of them, and it was my advice to him to turn himself in, and he acted on my advice and turned himself in, Your Honor. I understand that there are some outstanding matters, but this happened almost a month ago, and as I said, Ms. Alexander has spoken with me on numerous occasions and indicated that her biggest concern was to have continued contact with my client and for him to be around their child. I think that the bond that the court has given him is not unreasonable under the circumstances. So I'm not going to ask that that to be changed, but I would certainly ask that he continue to have contact with Miss Alexander and her child. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Turner, if you're back on with us and wish to address the court, I'll need for you to unmute yourself, activate your camera for me. Are you pulled over, Ms. Turner?
Hello.
Are you
Yeah,
are you
I'm
pulled
pulled
over?
over. I'm safe.
Okay, if you raise your right hand for me. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. What would you like? If you could place your hand down, what would you like to tell the court?
I would just like to tell the court, Jonathan and I have been together for 6 years. We've had our ups and downs, but he is the father of my child. He is my boyfriend. I do want further contact. Unfortunately, the devil got the best of us on the 5th of October. And like Ms. McCall said, I reached out to her immediately once the warrant was issued, and we just want to put this behind us.
Thank you, Mr. Ms. Allen.
Just briefly, Ms. Turner, did you say the devil got the best of you on October the 5th?
I said yes, it did. Yes, it did. We were, like I said, we unfortunately the incident happened, and we like I said, we've been together since, and like I said, been in contact with Ms. McLeod ever since then. This is something we want to put behind us.
Got it.
Yes.
So you're not disputing that the incident happened on October the 5th? You're just past it?
Right.
Okay. And the case that you guys had that was open in 2023 that was dismissed when you didn't come to trial, was Ms. McLeod the defense attorney at that time as well?
Not sure. I
Okay.
honestly don't
And do you
recall.
remember that case, that incident in 2023?
I don't. I honestly don't.
You remember
Like I
calling the
said,
police about being assaulted by this gentleman previously?
during the MARTA, you brought that up. That was
You remember that
again
one?
long ago. Yeah, that was long ago.
But you
But
don't
the one in
remember the
2023, I honestly don't even remember
Do
what
you
that was
remember
about.
speaking to someone in our office about your case and the defendant previously?
Again, from the MARTA incident, yes.
Okay.
But the
How
one in
does it
2023, only one I remember is like I said, with the gentleman on the other case. I was a person for that.
Okay. How old is the child that you two share?
5,
And what's her name?
Serenity.
Serenity. And has she been present for any of the incidences with the defendant?
The one with the MARTA when I had to come pick him up.
Right. He assaulted the MARTA bus driver. And she
Right.
was in her, what was she in, a stroller?
I'm guessing. So again, I wasn't there. I had to come pick her up.
Got it. Okay. Those are all the questions I have, Your Honor.
Okay. So I want to make myself clear, Ms. Turner.
Yes.
I am mostly concerned about your child. You're a grown person.
Right.
Okay. And it doesn't appear that this is a good environment for that child. Because of that reason, until all this is resolved, you are not to have any contact, if he's not to have any contact with you, which means that you're not to have any contact with him. Neither is your child. If I find out that there is contact, I'm going to revoke this bond. Okay, you all need to get your situation together for your child's sake. So
Yes.
bond's going to be a $2,000 good bond for the battery, $1,000 good bond for the simple battery, makes for a total of a $3,000 good bond. No further contact with Miss Turner or the minor child. No contact means absolutely no contact. No phone contact, no email contact, no social media contact. If I find out that there's been contact before this is resolved, this bond is going to be revoked. So you won't be doing him any favors if you allow contact. Stay away from Donald Lee Parkway address. He can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings. So he's to stay away from there until this is resolved. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. All right, good luck to you both.
Okay.
Thank you. Tell me again, please, courtroom 2.
Number 4, Dotson.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Dodson. You've been charged in case 24CR007410F with battery, family violence, hindering a person making an emergency telephone call, terroristic threats and acts, and cruelty to children in the 3rd degree. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Second, 2015 possession of marijuana, driving without a valid license.
Yes, Mr.
Your Honor,
Essiana.
this incident took place about a month ago, September 30th. The victim went to police. Actually, I'm sorry, this incident took place on the 27th of September. It was reported to police 3 days later on the 30th. The victim went to police to make a report that she was assaulted by her boyfriend. She reported that 3 days earlier, she was at her apartment. The location is 2929 Landrum Drive Southwest, number H50. The defendant was drinking and accused her of infidelity. The victim stated the defendant then, quote, flipped out on her and started strangling her, pulling her hair, and punching her multiple times. The victim had a laceration on the side of her face that the officers noted had dried and begun to heal. She told the officers, in addition to being assaulted, that the defendant threatened to kill her and himself, and that the altercation took place in the presence of their infant child, whose initials are KD. We have been in touch with the victim today. She states that they're in a relationship. They do not live together. They do have a child together. She states the incident location is her residence. She did confirm the events in the warrant. She can't fully remember, as far as the strangling is concerned, how many hands or for how long, but she did confirm that it happened. She stated that the defendant has a diagnosis, an MH diagnosis, and there are some concerns there. She states that this has never happened before. She's been in contact with him for the last month and there's been no violence. She states that she's not in fear and she would like to continue contact. And Your Honor, I believe she's on the Zoom. Her name is Miss
Kelly
Brown.
Brown, I think. Yeah,
Brown,
Kelly Brown.
yes, Miss Kelly
Thank you.
Brown. Your Honor, he has very limited criminal history. The state's requesting a signature bond through pretrial services. At this point, we're requesting no contact because they do have a very, very young child together. I believe the child's 2 or 3 months old at this point. We are requesting a stay away and that the defendant either take anger awareness or preferably family violence intervention program, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol. And if Your Honor can sound for Ms. Brown.
Ms. Brown, I see you on the line. If you would like to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. I'll need for you to unmute yourself and activate your camera, and I'll have to swear you in. Brown? Okay, I take it that she does not wish to address the court at this time. Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 29 years old. I don't think there's much of a record there. We would have no objection, assuming this could be done through SIB jail, to a signature bond through a pretrial. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my notes, Your Honor, I apologize. They do not live together. There need not be any further contact and third-party transfer of any children, Your Honor. Nothing further.
Okay. Ms. Brown, I see they're trying to activate your, trying to unmute, so I'll give you an opportunity to do that.
Can you
There
hear
you
me?
go. I can now, ma'am. If you'll raise your right hand for me. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court, ma'am?
As far as the no contact goes, I don't have family here, so he watches our child while I work.
Okay, and this has never happened before?
No, and he do have PTSD.
Okay.
That's
And
what I told
you're
him. And when I
you're
went to
not,
make the report, I stated to them that I didn't want to file charges against him. I just wanted it on record that the incident happened.
and you're not afraid of him?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
You're not afraid of him?
No. Am I afraid of him?
Yes.
No.
Okay. And who all lives at the land
I'm
private
sorry.
address?
Me and my kids.
Okay.
Like nothing
And
has ever happened like this before, so I think it
and
was
you
just
have
what was that?
children you have children with Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
How many?
One, she's 3 months old.
Okay. All right. Thank you for being here, Ms. Brown. Anything further, Mr. Cook?
Well, he did serve the Army from 2018 to 2022. I don't have any information that he was deployed. So again, we would be seeking a signature bond, given its family violence, I guess, through pretrial, Your Honor.
Okay. For the battery, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. For the hindering, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Terroristic threats, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. The cruelty, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Makes for a total of a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. 1-day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Ms. Brown, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Dodson.
Number 12, Park.
Good afternoon, Mr. Parks. You have been charged in case 24CR007407C with battery, family violence, and criminal trespass. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
10, 2015 FTA, 2012 obstruction, possession of marijuana, conviction, 2012 probation, 2009 charge. I guess is that CWAC? What you think? Is that considered CWAC? I'm not sure.
I'll leave it to you.
I wouldn't consider it
Okay.
CWAC.
You got an 08 simple assault violation of family violence order. That's it.
All right. Ms.
Judge know what it
Graciano.
is. He got my notes. So.
Your Honor, this incident took place back in July, on July 24th at 2591 Godfrey Drive. The victim in this case is Juliana Melendez. She and the defendant had previously been together and previously lived together. They had broken up, and around this time, they had recently reconciled. She stated that she was in the shower when the defendant went through her phone. The defendant left the location and left his phone at the residence. And when she got out of the shower, she went through the defendant's phone. There was some argument over that. The defendant was upset and he returned to the location. He broke down the front door and pushed the victim to the floor and pulled her hair. This caused her hair, this caused her to fall onto some broken wood where she sustained a cut to her foot. The parties, we've been in touch with Miss Melendez today. She states that they are still in a relationship. They still do not live together currently. They do not have any children. She confirmed the events in the warrant. She stated that the defendant has since paid to get the door repaired. They've been in contact since this incident and there's been no violence. She's not in fear and would like to continue contact. Your Honor, he does have some history, but it's over 10 years old at this point. The state's requesting a signature bond, no violent contact, anger awareness, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol. And if Your Honor can sound for Miss Melendez.
Ms. Melendez is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. I'll need for you to unmute yourself, activate your camera. Okay. Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, what record my client has is 10 years plus, I believe. My client's 40 years old. He is a union electrician and has been for 20 years. He makes a decent income. I think at one time they lived together. I don't believe they live together now. And it's my understanding that without making admissions that whatever happened to the door has been repaired. So we would be seeking a signature bond at whatever level the court deems appropriate. As far
Okay,
as contact, we would leave that up to the court.
Okay, well, Ms. Desiano has recommended already a signature bond through pretrial and no further violent contact, so I'll take the state's recommendation.
Thank you.
Get a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial for the battery, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial for the criminal trespass, makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. 1-day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Ms. Melendez, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Parks.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Number 2, Cooper.
Good afternoon, Mr. Cooper. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007414G with battery, family violence, and criminal trespass and damage to property. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
14/2024. Somebody talking loud. Intentionally use unnamed aircraft system to obtain, possess prohibited items. This is out of Greene County back in August. 2016 retail theft conviction. 2014 domestic battery dismissed.
Yes, Mr.
Your Honor,
Desiano.
this incident happened back in July as well. Officers responded to a domestic dispute at 319 Auburn Avenue. The victim in this case, Jamariana Jackson, she stated she was assaulted by her boyfriend. She was attempting to leave the residence after some argument. She packed a red suitcase full of items. The red suitcase was apparently the defendant's suitcase, and he was upset that she was trying to leave with his suitcase. So there was an argument over that, and he shoved her to the ground and started hitting her, and he snatched the glasses off of her face, breaking them, and the victim sustained a scratch to her chin. Looks like the warrants were not taken out for this case until mid-August, Your Honor. Actually, the same day he was arrested for the intentionally using unmanned aircraft to obtain prohibited items. He's got several arrests in the last 5 years, and including in the state of Illinois as recent as 2020, and then the cases here this year. The state's requesting a $3,000 surety, Your Honor, $2,500 on the battery, $500 on the criminal trespass, no further contact, stay away, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol. We've not been in touch with Miss Jackson today, Your Honor, if you can sound for her.
If Miss Jamaria Jackson is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. Doesn't appear so. Mr. Cook?
Yeah, Your Honor, my client is 31 years old. He is a native of Atlanta. He tells me that Miss Jackson has moved to Texas, so there shouldn't be any issue, and they don't live together now. This is the previous charge was kind of odd. It apparently involved a drone in Greene County. I don't know all the details there. Given that the nature of the charge, given the fact that she's not even in the state anymore, we would be asking for a signature bond at whatever level the court deems appropriate. Want to do a stairway or no further contact? That's fine. He lives in Auburn Avenue. And again, I was not able to reach Miss Jackson, but according to my client, she lives in Texas and has no intention of coming back. So
So you said that you don't have an objection to the stay away. The stay away would be from 319 Auburn Avenue. Is
Oh,
that
I'm
where he-
sorry. I'm sorry. That's where he lives. I apologize, Your Honor. I misunderstood. If we could get a law enforcement visit to determine that she is no longer there, we would ask that he be allowed to stay there.
Okay. For the battery, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 3. For the criminal trespass, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 3. Makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 3. 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with Ms. Jackson. He can have a one-time police escort to the Auburn Avenue address. If she is there, he'll have to gather his belongings and find somewhere else to reside. If she is not living there, then he can remain there. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Cooper.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Number 3.
Good afternoon, Mr. Dixon. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007413Y with criminal trespass and terroristic threats and acts. So your history, Mr. Howard.
18. Got an open battery 23 CP 221365. 2015 probation, 2010 battery, entering 911 call, dead docket. 2023 battery. Okay, that's it.
Do you have the bond? Is it a pretrial bond for the battery or not?
It's not, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It's a
Yes,
surety
Mr.
bond. It's a $10,000 surety bond, Your Honor, and it's the same victim. This case, he also has a 2023 conviction for driving while license suspended, a 2022 conviction for DUI. This incident took place on the 29th, Your Honor. Officers responded to 1328 Womack Avenue in East Point regarding a fight. Upon arrival, the officer noticed a man and woman arguing and noticed that the front right window of the home was open and the screen was on the ground. The victim in this case is Sandra Mendez. She stated the defendant is the father of one of her children. Defendant apparently does not live at this location, according to what was originally told to police. She stated that she and the defendant spent the day together, and then he went to go see another woman. She got upset about that and then put his belongings on the front porch for the defendant to retrieve when he returned back. When the defendant returned back, he accused the victim that not all of his belongings were on the porch, and she opened the door and showed the defendant that all of his belongings were on the porch. She told him to leave and then closed the door and locked him out. The defendant then went and removed the window screen from that front window and entered the residence through the window. The victim was trying to find her phone to call 911. The defendant gets inside and tells her that he is going to make sure she was not breathing. The victim tells the defendant again he needs to leave. Officers also spoke with the defendant, who denied coming into the window, did admit that the victim had asked him to leave, and he claims that he was leaving when police showed up. The victim also apparently showed police a video from a few days before this incident that showed the defendant putting a gun to her head. The open felony case, Your Honor, 23 CP 221365. The defendant was originally charged with first-degree burglary and battery for breaking into the victim's home around 5 a.m. He was banging on the door and demanding to use her car, and when she didn't answer, he went and broke in the window. Once he was in the house, there was an argument. The victim was trying to call 911. The defendant smacked the phone out of her hand and slammed her head into a wall, which damaged the wall, and then he bit her. And in that case, the victim was living in Union City. So there is a stay away from that previous address, which is different from this address. But the bond order does say that the defendant is to have no further contact with this victim. That bond order was entered in August of 2023, well before this incident, Your Honor. Since then, the DA has declined to prosecute burglary. This case was transferred to state court a couple of days ago. We accused the case this afternoon, and the new case number is 24 CR 007422Y. Your Honor, but regardless, he is in violation of that bond order. And since this incident, Judge, we've been in touch with the victim who, like the victims on Tuesday, is recanting everything. She's saying there was never a removed screen. She never called the police. There was never an altercation. She's denying everything, and she would like contact and would like for him to return. Of course, the state has an objection to that. Based on all of that, Your Honor, the state's requesting a $5,000 surety bond, absolutely no contact, stay away from the incident location, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol. And if Your Honor can sound for Ms. Mendez.
How was that broken down? How would you like that broken down, Ms. Desiano?
25 and 25.
Okay. If Ms. Mendez is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. Is this your case, Mr. McLean?
It's mine,
Oh, yes, yes, Ms. McLeod.
Your Honor. I would,
Yes.
Is this Ms. Mendez?
Yes, Your Honor. Can you hear me?
I can. You'll have to activate your camera for. Okay, there you go. All right. Yeah, I need for you to raise your right hand for me.
Yes, sir.
Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court, Ms. Mendez?
Your Honor, when the police initially came, he was in his vehicle. The screens, we just moved here like 4 days ago. We do live together. We raise our kids together. We go to work. He's an electrician. We haven't had no disputes. I don't understand why the officers explained to me that they weren't taking him to jail. They stated that I was not pressing charges on him, and they left. So I don't understand why he's even going through this. We are together, and we live here, and we raise our kids together. So I don't understand why he's going through this. He did not come through the window. They made assumptions, and they seemed like he did because the window was open, and they kept telling him that the screen is your problem. He never came through my window. He left earlier about some tools. His tools were outside. That was way earlier. The neighbors called the police because they saw a suspicious vehicle and seen that we just moved here, so they didn't know what was going on. And I did not state to the police that I didn't want him to return. He did not make terroristic threats to me. So I'm not understanding why he's even going through this again.
So let me tell you this, Ms. Mendez. Apparently, you all has another open case that involves you. Okay,
Yes.
you understand that? He has an open case that involves you. That case is still open. He was ordered by another judge to have no contact with you. So he's in violation of that bond order. Okay, so there's nothing that this court.
I have no family here. We take care of my daughter together. And how is that so when we just moved here together?
There is a bond order that says he cannot have any contact with you, period. Okay, so that's for the previous. Is that correct, Ms. Desiano?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so that means that he should not have been having contact with you. So regardless of what he allegedly did or did not do, he is in violation of that bond order just by having contact with you. You are not doing him any favors by having contact with him, because that bond that was a $10,000 good bond, is my understanding, can be revoked and he can remain in custody because he's in violation of that bond.
But we have kids together. Yes, sir.
Well, you know, you had the opportunity at the bond the previous time, and apparently that judge deemed that you all were not to have contact. All right, so just take that
we weren't aware of that, but I understand, sir.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, people tell me that they're not aware of things like that all the time, but I always make people aware, and I'm sure that the other judges also make people aware that what no contact means, because that's what we do.
I didn't have any knowledge of that. I honestly didn't have no knowledge. I didn't go to no bond hearing. I don't know nothing, none of that.
Well, you know it now. Okay, so I'm telling you now that y'all are not supposed to be having contact, and you having contact with him, that's not doing him any favors right now. You understand what I'm saying? So until y'all get all of this resolved, you can't be around each other. Period. Otherwise, he's going to be right back where he is again. All right. So I appreciate you being here, Ms. Mendez. But just know that if you don't make, if he doesn't make other arrangements, then he'll be in violation of the bond order that's about to come also. All right,
I
thank you
didn't,
for being.
I just want the court to know that I did not press charges and I did not want no charges to be filed against him.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Let's see, Ms. McLeod,
Yes, Your Honor.
anything further?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. For the criminal trespass, it'll be $1,000 good bond. For terroristic threats, it'll be a $2,000 good bond. Makes for a total of a $3,000 good bond. At this time, no further contact with Ms. Mendez per the other order as well. Stay away from the Womack Avenue address. You can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Mr. Dixon, let me just tell you, if you all continue to have contact, you're not doing anything yourself any favors, okay? You'll be right back where you are if you all, until this is all worked out, if you don't find another place to reside at the present time. I'm also going to, I don't like to keep a father from his children, so I'm also going to order third-party transfer of the minor children for visitation. So I'm going to allow you to see your children, but it's going to have to be through a third party, okay? All right, good luck to you.
And Your Honor, that's exactly what the other order says, third party transfer.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, that could be my business before the court today. May I be excused?
Yes, have a good evening, Ms. McLeod. Stay safe, okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Number 6, Mr. Hall.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hall. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007421Y with theft by taking, giving false information to law enforcement, and terroristic threats and acts. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
13. Last arrest was in July. Open obstruction, shoplifting out of the cab. 2022 ag assault, he was acquitted. 2011 robbery conviction.
Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident from October the 30th at about 11:45 a.m. Police were called to 234 Memorial Drive. There they met with Mr. Bruce Johnson as well as the reception there at the location. It is a residence building. Mr. Johnson reported that he believed the person in Unit 371 took his mountain bike. The reception staff showed police video footage of a male taking the bike at about 3 a.m. Police made contact with the defendant at his unit 371. He said that he took the bike and that he sold it to the security guard at Magic City named Miami for $5. He was arrested, and while on body cam and in the presence of Officer Law, he told her he was going to shoot her in the head and made other vulgar comments. He also, when asked to identify himself, said his name was Brian Nunnally. That's not his name. His name is Brian Hall. The majority of his criminal history is out of Missouri, Your Honor. His only other case here in Georgia was an aggravated assault from 2022. He was acquitted. He's got a robbery conviction, 2 false imprisonment convictions, and felony drug conviction, as well as arrests for arson and burglary out of Missouri. We're asking for a $2,000 surety bond, no contact with the victim in this case, Bruce Johnson, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
Mr. Bruce Johnson is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity. Yes, whose case is this?
This is mine, Your Honor, Keith Cook.
Yes, Mr. Cook.
Yes, Your Honor, we have no objection, no further contact. I believe it was a conviction maybe 10 or 12 years ago. We would be asking for a signature bond through pretrial we have no objection to any kind of stay away or, although I believe this is an apartment complex, so, he would like to go home. He lives at 234 Memorial Drive, 30303, apartment, 371. So we would ask that he be allowed to return to that location. And again, we would be asking for a signature bond through pretrial.
Okay, for the theft, it'll be a $500 good bond. For the false information, a $500 good bond. For the terroristic threats, a $1,000 good bond, makes for a total of a $2,000 good bond. No further contact with Bruce Johnson, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Next is number 15, Mr. Smith.
Good afternoon, Mr. Smith. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007404J with expired tag or unregistered vehicle. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
6, on probation, participation in criminal street gang, possession of a firearm during a commission. In 2015, they gave him 10 years to serve, 5 probated. So I think that's what the parole, he has a parole hold. I think that's why they arrested him with this charge. So he's on parole for a gang participation.
Okay. Graciano?
Yes. Yes, Your Honor. He was driving on Metropolitan with an expired tag. The state NOD'd. There was a marijuana charge and no license on person that the state NOD'd. And we're requesting SOB jail release to his hold, no driving without valid registration, no weapons, drugs, alcohol.
Any objection to any of that, Mr. McLean?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, $1,000 signature bond through the jail, no driving unless your vehicle's registered, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mrs. Smith.
Next is position number 20, Mr. Williams.
Good afternoon, Mr. Williams. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007420G with criminal trespass and willful obstruction of law enforcement officers. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
38. He was arrested in August for trespass. 2024 trespass no low, 2022 probation, 2021 probation. Couple of trespassing out of Illinois from 2016. 2016 disorderly conduct conviction.
Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. The defendant was just arrested and came through SCA on August the 24th. He has an open case, 24 CR 006010G, which is open. He has a bond that you signed on the 26th of August. It's an $2,000 SOB through pretrial requiring him to stay away from MARTA. It was a criminal trespass case. The incident in front of you today is from yesterday, the 30th of October at about 8 a.m. At 225 Peachtree Street Northeast. That's the hub. The defendant was seen to enter the Dairy Queen there and remain inside the location after being told to leave. He was identified as someone that police officers were aware of. He had a current 2-year ban from the location, and on October the 11th and the 10th had been there criminally trespassed and involved in a theft. He was arrested on the 30th for criminal trespass and obstruction. He refused the verbal commands of Officer Graham, who interacted with him there. The defendant has criminal history out of Illinois, Kentucky, Florida, West Virginia, and Georgia. But most notably is the NOLO for criminal trespass and disorderly out of Clayton County from this year, and another case this year that's currently open and he's out on bond for. So we'd be asking for $1,000 cash bond. Stay away from the hub at 225 Peachtree Street Northeast, and of course all the businesses that are located there, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Thank you.
Mr. McLean.
Your Honor, my client is 44 years old. He is a high school graduate. He does recognize that he has a lot of arrests. He pointed out they were pretty much nonviolent cases. He would ask the court to consider a signature bond. He gets his medical help and other help from Grady. He has gone through the VEO, the Veterans Empowerment Organization, on the street near the jail. I believe that's Lakeside or Westlake. And he has been here 7 years. And under these circumstances, we'd ask the court to consider a signature bond. He gets his mail at 420 Cortland, so it's a mail drop, and it is steady and reliable.
Mr. McLean, I can't keep giving him a signature bond. We're gonna have to figure out what's going on with Mr. Williams. I think he'd benefit from a social worker visit, maybe a BHET. So at this time, it's gonna be $100 good bond per charge. So it's a total of a $200 good bond, social worker visit for a BHET. Stay away from the hub on Peachtree Street, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond.
What was the breakdown, Your Honor?
$100 per charge.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and if you want to, I know that this, that this calendar is going to be going to the SAP calendar on the 14th. If you want me to put him on my calendar on the 12th, I'm happy to do that so that I can see him again and make a determination regarding whatever the social worker visit tells me. I'm happy to do that. Is that what you want me to do, Mr. McLean?
Yes, please, Your Honor. That would be far more efficient, and that would be good.
Okay, so Mr. Jordan, if you can put Mr. Williams on my SAP calendar on Tuesday, the 12th, can we do that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Who do we have next?
Position number 8 is a waiver.
We're ready on that, Your Honor.
Okay. What about 13 and 14?
I'm not sure. We don't have them. So I'll find out. Give me a moment, please.
Okay, so I have 8, 13, and 14 that we have not yet done. So while they check on that, let's go ahead and do position number 8. Ingram, charged in case 24 CR 007409E with battery, criminal trespass, and damage to property, 2 counts. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
22. Open case out of Washington County, theft by taking, burglary in the first. On probation in Cherokee for ag assault. On probation in Baldwin County, theft by taking. On probation in Putnam County, fleeing an officer. 2023 probation, 2018 theft by taking, harassing phone calls, no-low, and wanted out of Cherokee County.
Ms. Desiano?
Your Honor, she also has a probation revocation from this year as well. This incident took place yesterday at 573 Morgan Street. The victim is Willie Rainey. He lives at the location, and he states that the defendant was a friend of his and he was helping her out, trying to give her a place to stay. However, after a couple of weeks, she was not contributing financially or otherwise at all to the household. He asked her to move out. He states the conversation started out normal, but then the defendant got very, very aggressive, suddenly, started punching him in the head and all over his arms, and then went and poured a cup of coffee over his computer, destroying it. And she left the location at that point. The victim was bleeding and had marks on his neck. The police also spoke with the defendant. She admitted to assaulting the defendant. She claimed she was acting in self-defense from an altercation that had taken place several days before this incident. While in the patrol car, the officer was confirming she has a warrant for aggravated assault out of Cherokee County. The officer was confirming that warrant, and over the radio, it came through that the warrant was confirmed. And when she heard that, she got very aggressive again, started kicking and scratching the patrol vehicle and damaged the door to the patrol vehicle. She continued to be belligerent and aggressive. She was sent to Grady. She was very belligerent and aggressive toward the staff there, and then also later at the jail. We've been in touch with Mr. Rainey today. He states that the defendant was a friend of his, that he was allowing to stay, confirmed the events in the warrant. He would like no contact and for her to stay away. Your Honor, we're requesting a $3,000 surety, $1,000 each count, no further contact with the victim, stay away. We're also asking for a BHET, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol. And if Your Honor can sound for Mr. Rainey, thank you.
Mr. Willie Rainey is on the line and wishes to address the court. See you there, Mr. Rainey. If you will activate the camera for me, if you choose to. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. Can you raise your right hand for me, Mr. Rainey? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can place your hand down. Thank you, sir. What would you like to tell the court?
Yes, there was two charges brought on her. The criminal trespassing charge, I'm not sure what that is because she wasn't criminally trespassing. She was my guest on the property, so that's not a right charge.
It's criminal trespass. It's criminal trespass and damage to property. Did she damage some of your property?
Okay, I see. I see. Some property was damaged. Okay. All right. What are the conditions?
Oh, we haven't gotten that far yet. So, what do you have anything that you want to tell me in regards to that? It's my understanding that you don't want to have any further contact with her. You want her to stay away from your residence. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so I'll order that. Does she have any belongings at your property?
She may have an iPad, not that much stuff.
Okay,
but if
well,
she needs to get it, then I know she can have the police as escort and all that such.
okay, I'll have if she needs to get anything from your apartment, I'll have a police escort her there to retrieve it. Anything else you want to tell me, Mr. Rainey?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, I appreciate you being here this afternoon. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, my client has an address in Gray, Georgia at the Senior Center Way. She has a email address works better for court notices, and she requested that I give that to the clerk. She did comment upon the incident, and we talked a bit about her past, but Your Honor, there was not a lot to contribute in terms of substance. So we would ask the court to just give her a bond that's as low as possible, and would ask the court to even consider a signature bond. She was understanding. I agree there should be a social worker visit to see about whether BHET would be necessary. She was understanding the idea of staying away, which we discussed.
Okay. For the battery, it'll be a $500 good bond. For each of the criminal trespasses, it'll be a $250 good bond. Makes for a total of $1,000 good bond. No further contact with Mr. Rainey. Stay away from the Morgan Street address. She can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings. Social worker visit for BHET. no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. And Mr. Jordan has let us know that position 13 has bonded out. So that leaves position 14, David Robinson.
Position 14, Mr. Robinson, he's A grade.
Okay, so that's a medical reset until tomorrow, 11/1. All right, I think that completes the 2 o'clock calendar. Let's see, Mr. Jordan, whenever you're ready.
Position 1 is a $1,000 good bond. Reset SAP. Count 1, $750, and count 2, $250 good bond. Position 2 is a $3,000 sign-on bond pretrial. That's $2,000 for count 1 and $1,000 for count 2. Position 3 is a $3,000 good bond, $1,000 for count 1, $2,000 for count 2. Position 4 is a $5,000 sign-on bond pretrial, $2,000 for count 1 and $1,000 each for counts 2, 3, and 4. Position 5 is a $1,000 good bond, $500 for count 1 and $250 for each for counts 2 and 3. Position 6 is a $1,000 good bond, is a $2,000 good bond. That's $500 for counts 1 and 2 apiece, and $1,000 for count 3. Position 7 is a $2,000 sign-on bond pretrial, $1,000 for count 1, and $500 apiece for counts 2 and 3. Position 8 is a $1,000 good bond, $500 for count 1, and $250 apiece for counts 2 and 3. Position 9 is a $4,000 sign-on bond pretrial, $2,000 per charge. Position 10 is a $2,000 good bond. Position 11 is a $500 sign-on bond pretrial.
That's 500 or 5,000.
Oh, I'm sorry, 5,000. You are correct. $5,000 sign-on bond pretrial level 2. Position 12 is a $3,000 sign-on bond pretrial, $2,000 for count 1 and $1,000 for count 2. Position 13 is reset further notice made bond. Position 14 is reset to 11/1/24 SEA. Position 15 is a $1,000 sign-on bond jail. Position 16 is a $3,000 good bond, $2,000 for count 1 and $1,000 for count 2. Position 17 is a $3,000 sign-on bond pretrial. Position 18 is a $2,000 good bond. Position 19 is a $6,000 sign-on bond pretrial. That's $2,000 per charge. Position 20 is a $200 good bond, $100 per charge. And position 21 is a $3,000 sign-on bond pretrial.
Okay, any questions or concerns? And I know that Ms. Janice there wanted to speak on the Robinson case, and I let her know that he'll be back on the calendar tomorrow. You can join by Zoom at that time, if you like to join us then, ma'am.
Your Honor, I did, there was mention that Nikki Mimar, M-E-M-A-R, was going to go to felony, but we could possibly address bond today. I do have some information. It's not really quite complete. Is she going to definitely get a bond hearing tomorrow on this matter?
I mean, I can't speak to that, but we can address her bond if you want now.
If she's not, don't imagine they brought her over thinking that it wouldn't be addressed. Probably tomorrow. What day was she arrested? What time?
Let me see. She's got an open felony shoplifting as well.
So they'll do this at 11 or 11:30 tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay.
It looks like she was arrested on the 30th at 4:52 p.m. or booked. It says booked 6:39.
Very good. Samantha Findling of our office is familiar with her, and I'll let her know. Thank you.
All right, if nothing further, you all enjoy the rest of your evening. Be safe out there.
You too. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Happy Halloween.